Okay. Yesterday we have already seen the control structures. The control structures contained the switch statement, then some of the control statements like go to, break, and continue statements, as well as no, just 1 minute. All of you, just 1 minute. Am I audible to everyone? Do Am I audible to everyone? Do you visible the
Yes,
screen?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Shall I start?
Yes, ma'am.
Uh, Today we learn till we have already completed the control structures. Just I take the revision in control structures. What we have to learn? We have to learn the if statement, simple if statement, then if else statement, else if statement, and else if ladder. And yesterday's lecture, we have already covered the switch statement, that is one of the control structure, then break statement, go to statement, and continue statements. And now today we learn about the looping concept. That is very important concept as per the programming languages. Looping concept. So what do you mean by the loop, or what is a program loop? The program loop is a group of statements which are executed repeatedly until some condition gets satisfied. Means in most of the situation, if you want to repeat the group of statements, or if you want to repeat some statements again and again till the particular condition gets satisfied, so in such a situation you have to use the concept of program loop. Okay, actually there are the two different parts for the program loop. The first part contain the statement which are to be executed repeatedly, and that is called as body of loop. The first part of program loop is called as the body of loop. And remember what the body of loop contains? It contains the group of statements that you want to repeatedly execute. Okay, and now the second part contain the test condition that decides how many times a loop is to be executed. Means the test condition, according to that test condition, uh, it decides the whether the loop has to be executed or not. If the test condition becomes true, then the loop will be executed. If it is false, then your program control goes out of the loop. So you remember there are the two different parts of program loop. First part is the body of loop, and second part is the test condition. And body of loop consists of the number of statements or the group of statements that you want to repeatedly execute. And the second part consists of test condition. Depending on the position of test condition, the loops are classified into two types. The first type is entry control loop. So in this, the test condition is placed before the start of loop, and that's why the name is given as an entry control loop. Because the test condition is placed before start of loop, and that's why the name is given as entry control. And exactly vice versa for the exit control loop. In this, the test condition is placed at the end of the body of loop, means the bottom of the body of loop, and that's why the name is given as the exit control loop. Now you have to learn the two types of the loops. The first is the entry control loop, and the second one is the exit control loop. Now we see all the statements one by one. Actually, there are the three different types of the statements: while statement, do while statement, and the for loop. So out of which first we learn about the while statement. The, this while statement is very simple. It is the simplest of all looping statements in a C language. And see, this while is an entry control loop. In most of the time, you have the question on this topic as which of the following is the entry control loop, and you have given the option while, then do while, then another any one of the options, and none of the above. So you choose the correct option as a while, because while is the entry control loop. Why? Because this test condition is placed just before the start of the body of loop, and that's why it is called as the entry control loop. So what is the working of this while loop? So first of all, the test condition is evaluated. If the result of condition is true, then the body of loop is executed, and the same process repeatedly executes until the test expression becomes false. म्हणजे जोपर्यंत टेस्टचा रिझल्ट फॉल्स येत नाही तोपर्यंत ही जी बॉडी दिसते बघा खाली सिंटॅक्स मध्ये बॉडी ऑफ लूप, याच्यामध्ये जेवढे स्टेटमेंट्स असतील ते रिपीटेडली एक्झिक्यूट होतील. केव्हा एक्झिक्यूट होतील? ज्या वेळेला टेस्ट कंडिशन ही ट्रू असेल. When you get the result of test condition is true, then the body of loop will be evaluated. If the result becomes false, then the program control is out of the while loop, and the statement which is present just below the while statement, that will be executed. So this is the work of while statement. Once the test expression or the test condition becomes a false, then loop terminates. It's very simple. And see at the bottom, this is the syntax of while loop. While into the bracket, this is a test condition. This test condition is places just before the body of loop, and that's why it is called as the entry control loop. This opening brace indicates that this is the start of body of loop, and this closing brace indicates that here the body of loop closes. So the number of statements which are present between the opening and closing brace is called as the body of loop. And statement X means any other statement. When the test condition becomes false, then at that time your control is directly jumped to the statement X or the statement which is present just below the while statement. Okay, and now you will get the clear concept with the following diagram and the example. See, this is the diagram of while statement and the one example of while loop. In this diagram, you see this is the initialization. Initialization means you just initialize the variable. After that, here I use one diamond box. The diamond box is generally used to check the condition. Means whatever the condition you put with the while, that condition is included in the diamond box. If the condition becomes true, means the result of condition becomes true, then the code inside the body of while loop will be executed. After that, when the closing brace is encountered, again the program control is transferred back to the again the test condition. Again it check if again the condition is true, then it executes the body of loop. Again it goes back to the condition, it checks for the condition. If the result becomes false, then there is the end of loop, means end of loop, or it executes the next statement just below the while statement. And exactly following this path of the diagram, the example is given here. In this example, just I have taken the variable count and initialized the value 1, and data type is integer. See here how I use the while into the bracket. This is the test condition. What is the condition? Count is less than or equal to 4. First of all, what happens? At very first, it checks the condition. What is the value of count? 1. So how it checks? It checks 1 is less than or equal to 4. Is it correct or wrong? Is it true or false? 1 is less than 4. Unmute your mic and tell me. The condition is true or false? 1 is less than 4.
True.
True, yes. Because
True,
1
ma'am.
is less than. कारण एक ही value 4 पेक्षा लहानच आहे. So condition becomes true. And if the condition becomes true, then the control is entered into the body of loop and it evaluates the first statement. Printf %d count. काय होईल? Countची व्हॅल्यू सुरुवातीला 1 होती. Just the count, the value of count will be printed. And at the bottom you see, just below the output word, the first value 1 will be printed on the screen. So after that, count plus plus. With this count plus plus, the value of count is incremented by 1. means 1 plus 1 2. And now carefully remember, the next statement is the closing brace. Due to this closing brace, the control is directly transferred to the directly transfer back to the while statement. And here it checks the condition. What is the updated value of count? 2. And what is the condition? 2 is less than or equal to 4. Okay. Again the condition is true because 2 is less than 4. Again it prints the value. So 2 will be printed. Then count plus plus 2 plus 1 3. Again due to this closing brace, the control is transferred back to the while. It checks the condition. 3 is less than or equal to 4. Yes, condition is true. Again it prints the value of count as a 3. So see in the output the next value is 3. Then increment count by 1. 3 plus 1 4. Again it checks the condition. 4 is less than or equal to 4. Yes, less than or equal to. 4 is not less than, but 4 is equal to 4, and that's why the condition becomes true. And again the value of count will be printed. So finally you will get the output as a 1 2 3 4. Then 4 plus 1 5. Again it goes back to the while and check the condition. 5 is less than or equal to 4. Is it true or false? Tell me.
False.
False. Yes, because 5 is not less than 4. इथे कंडिशन फॉल्स झाली म्हणून डायरेक्ट काय होईल, कंट्रोल जो असेल तो रिटर्न 0 ला येईल, पुढच्या स्टेटमेंटला येईल, तो लूपच्या बाहेर येईल. And then here is the termination of program. And finally you will get the output as 1 2 3 4. Why you will get the output on a different line? Because here I use backslash n. With this backslash n, the every value will be printed on a new line. So that's why 1 2 3 4 every output on the new line. Clear? Now the next statement is do while statement. The actually the concept is similar for while, do while and for, but there is some difference between their syntax and working. So do while statement check its condition at the bottom of loop. Note down the differences. Most of the time the question is asked on this topic is write the differences between the while and do while loop. So while is a entry control loop. In while the condition is tested at first, but in case of do while the condition is placed at the bottom of loop. So do while loop is similar to while except the fact that it is guaranteed to execute at least one time. Means before checking the condition, it is a guarantee that the loop will be executed at least one time. Why? Because the condition is placed at the bottom, and that's why the loop is executed at least one time before testing the condition. If the condition is true, the flow of control jumps back up to do, and the statements within the loop executes again. This process repeats until the given condition becomes false. When the condition becomes false, the loop is terminated and program control goes to the statement X just below the loop. See, again, this do while is very simple. The working is very simple. Only difference is that here the condition is placed at the bottom of the loop. This do while statement starts with the do word. Do is the reserve word, keyword. Then after do, just it is the opening bracket of loop, body of loop. This is the body of loop, or you can say the number of statements. And this is the closing brace of body. So at the end of this body, at the end of this loop, the condition will be placed here. Means the condition is checked at the bottom of loop. And that's why here, at least one time the loop will be executed, whether it is a true or false. And after that, the condition will be tested. And now the working is similar. How it is similar? If the condition, result of condition becomes true, then the control goes back to the do statements and it evaluates the number of statements within the body. Then again, it check the condition. If it is true, it again execute the same number of statements. But if the result of condition becomes false, then the control is directly jump to the statement X. Means control is out of the do while loop and it terminates the do while loop and just execute the next statement just below the while statement. Okay. Now with the next slide, example and diagram, you will clear the idea. See, this is the diagram of the do while loop. Some of the code is there for some of the flowchart is there for the above code. Just I have taken directly here the code block. Code block means do while block. This do conditional code, or you can say the number of statements, then while condition, and this is the code block. These are the processing statements, that's why these are included in this rectangle. So in do while, see here, this test condition is placed at the bottom of loop, and that's why here the condition is placed after the code block. Here the condition becomes tested. If it is false, sorry, if it is true, then your control goes back to the body, executes the body of loop. Again, it check the condition. Repeatedly, it executes the body of loop till the condition becomes true. But if the condition becomes false, then the control is the out of loop and it evaluates the statement X or the next statement which is just below the while statement. And exactly according to this path, the example is given. You see at the right side, just I have used here the integer main instead of void main. Here I use the integer, return data type integer. This is a comment local variable declaration. Here I take one variable a and initialize with the value 10. And I just use here the do while loop. In case in the body of loop do, just I use the printf statement because I want to just print the values. So value of a is equal to %d backslash t. What is the meaning of backslash t? Backslash t means the tab. Means all the values are printed with the separation of tab, and a means the value of a. So what is the first value? 10, and printf with this printf statement, see here at the bottom the 10 value will be printed. Now the next statement is a equal to a plus 1 means 10 plus 1, that is equal to 11. This is a closing brace, and now the condition will be tested here. 11 is less than 20. Is it true or false? True or false?
True.
True, because 11 is less than 20, and if the condition is true, then control goes back into the body and it just print the value of a. Value of a equal to what? 11. Actually, along these values, the message will be printed as value of a, value of a. Just I omit that. So I have just written here the values. So 11. Then a plus 1 means 11 plus 1, 12. Then it just tests the value, tests the condition. 12 is less than 20. Yes, the condition becomes true. Again, it goes into the loop and it just print the 12. So similarly, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 up to 19. Why not 20? Because I use here less than 20, not less than or equal to. If I use here less than or equal to, then 20 will be printed. But I use here only less than. So that's why up to the 19, all the values will be printed on the screen. Once the value becomes 20, here the condition becomes 20 is less than 20. Condition becomes false. कारण 20 हे 20 पेक्षा लहान नाही आहेत, ते दोघं इक्वल आहेत, म्हणून इथे कंडिशन फॉल्स झाली. And once the condition becomes false, then it just evaluates the next statement just below the while, and that is return 0. Here why I use the return 0? Because just I declare the integer main, means I declare here the return data type of main as an integer, and due to that here I use the return 0. If I am not use here the return 0, then here I get the warning at the time of executing this program, the function should return a value. बघा रिटर्न 0 इथे का घेतलंय मी, कारण की इथे void मेनच्या ऐवजी मी इंटीजर घेतलेला आहे. द रिटर्न डेटा टाइप इज इंटीजर. जर इंटीजर असेल तर इथे तुम्हाला रिटर्न 0 कंपल्सरी राईट करावं लागेल, अदरवाईज तुम्हाला कम्प्युटर वॉर्निंग देईल की फंक्शन शुड रिटर्न अ व्हॅल्यू. जर इथे तुम्ही void घेतलं तर तुम्हाला इथे रिटर्न 0 करायची गरज नाही, कारण व्हॉइड मीन्स नथिंग, म्हणजे ते फंक्शन कुठलीही व्हॅल्यू रिटर्न करत नाही जर व्हॉइड असेल तर. सो लाईक दॅट ऑल द व्हॅल्यूज अप टू 19 विल बी प्रिंटेड ऑन द स्क्रीन. क्लिअर? समजलं का सगळ्यांना? ऑल ऑफ यू अंडरस्टँड बोथ?
Ma'am.
Any difficulty?
Yes, ma'am.
Now
No.
you note down the differences between the while and do while, and only the last loop is remaining, that is a for loop. Again the concept is similar, means the for, as it is the loop, it executes the statements repeatedly again and again till the condition becomes true. But out of this all loops, the for loop is very popular. Why the for loop is very popular? Because the initialization, then test condition, and incrementation are done in a single statement. If you carefully observe the last two statements, while and do while, the initialization means I equal to 1, then test condition means I is less than or equal to 5, and increment means I plus plus. All these three statements are on a different lines. But in case of for loop, all these three tasks, initialization, test condition, and incrementations are in a single statement, and that's why the length of code becomes reduced, and that's why this for loop is very popular among the developers. Now the initialization statement is executed only once, then the test expression is evaluated. If the test expression is evaluated to false, then for loop is terminated. So uh, similar to the previous one. However, if the test expression is evaluated to true, then statements within the body of for loop are executed and update the expression. Again, the test expression is evaluated, and this process continues, or this process goes on until the expression becomes false. Once the test expression becomes false, then the loop terminates. And see at the bottom, this is the syntax of the for loop. See, for into the bracket, all three tasks, initialization statement, then test condition, and then increment, and opening brace, closing brace. Within these two brace, the number of statements that you want to repeat the repeatedly execute. With the next slide, you clear the idea. With this diagram and example, you will clear the concept of for loop. See here, initialization expression means, initialization means just I equal to 0, I equal to 1. Then test expression. See at the right hand side example, here I use I equal to 1. That is the initialization expression. Then just I use the semicolon. Next expression is the test expression. I is less than 11. So, and it is represented in a diamond box, test expression. Here I means the value of I is 1. 1 is less than 11. The condition is true. का? कारण एक हा कॅन्सल. हॅलो हॅलो,
आवाज येत नाही.
आवाज येत नाहीये. जस्ट 1 मिनिट.
येतोय मॅम.
हा, ओके
येतोय मॅम, आवाज येतोय.
okay. So I means the value of I is 1. 1 is less than 11. The condition is true, and if the condition is true, then it enters into the body of loop. And here only one statement, %d I, means that one value will be printed in the output. Again, what happens? Again, due to this closing brace, the control goes back to the for. First, here it increments the value of I. Plus I means pre-increment. The previous value of I is 1. 1 plus 1, that is equal to 2. Then it tests the condition. 2 is less than 11. Yes, condition is true. If the condition is true, then the value of 2 will be printed. And see here at the output, 2 will be printed. Due to this closing brace, again your control goes back to the for. Again it increments I by 1, means 2 plus 1, 3. Again it tested 3 is less than 11. Yes, true. Again the value of 3 will be printed. So likewise, the This printed statement will be repeatedly executed till the condition becomes true. And once the condition becomes false, means when the value of I becomes 11, that time the condition becomes false, means 11 is less than 11, false. And in that case, the control is directly out of the loop and then return 0. So in the output you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Why not 11? Because here I am not using equal to sign. If I use here I is less than or equal to 11, then 11 also printed. But here I use only less than, so the 10 is less than 11. So 1 to 10 value will be printed. And in case of this algorithm, see here, if the condition is true, then it enters into the for body, for loop body. If the condition becomes false, then it directly goes out of the loop. फॉर लूप मध्ये एंटर करेल जर कंडिशन ट्रू असेल तर त्याच्यानंतर एक्सप्रेशन अपडेट होईल म्हणजेच आय ची व्हॅल्यू अपडेट होईल इन्क्रीज होईल and again if the condition becomes again the control is transferred to the test condition. It checks if it is true, then again enter into the loop, update the expression, again goes on to the loop. So likewise the number of statements are repeatedly executed till the condition becomes true. Once the condition becomes false, it is out of the loop. Clear? Are you understood for loop?
Yes, ma'am.
And now in the next slide again you will get the very clear concept about the all these three statements. See, comparatively I take here all the three statements with the same example so that you can easily compare all the looping statements. See here, the first statement is while, the second is do while, and third is for. Okay, just what is my what is the role? Just here I have taken some code, and the task is only to display the value from 1 to 5. See, in three cases the output is similar: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and again in the third case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But now you carefully observe that where is the difference. Okay, now in the first statement while, just my role is only to print the value from 1 to 5. So how I use the while statement? Void main, uh, just here I forget the opening brace, just below the main, here only opening brace is remaining. You just consider that integer I equal to 1, just I initialize I value I to the value 1, while I is less than or equal to 5, printf %d backslash n I. What is the value of I very first? 1. That 1 will be printed. Due to this backslash n, the cursor will be placed at the next line. Then I plus plus means 1 plus 1, 2. Then due to this closing brace, the control goes back to the while. It check the condition. 2 is less than or equal to 5. Yes, condition becomes true. So again it prints the value of I as a 2. Then increment 2 plus 1, 3. So like that, the value will be printed up to the 5. Why 5? Because here I use equal to sign. I is less than or equal to 5. So that's why you will get the output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In case of do while, you just note down the differences. The same task, integer I equal to 1. Here initialization statement. Then the body of loop. Printf the value of I initially. So that's why the 1 will be printed. I plus plus means 1 plus 1, 2. Then at bottom, it checks the condition. 2 is less than or equal to 5. Yes, condition is true. If the condition is true, then control goes back into the body of loop. बघा इथे डिफरन्स काय आहे की व्हाईलला सुरुवातीला कंडिशन चेक होते. डू व्हाईल मध्ये कंडिशन जी असेल दॅट कंडिशन इज प्लेस ऍट द बॉटम ऑफ डू व्हाईल अँड दॅट्स वाय the loop is executed at least once without borrowing whether the condition is true or false. म्हणजे ही कंडिशन ट्रू असेल किंवा फॉल्स असेल पण आधी एकदा तो लूप एक्झिक्यूट होऊन गेला. दिस इज द डिफरन्स and that's why it is called as the exit control loop and it is called as the entry control. कारण लूप मध्ये एंट्री करायची असेल तर आधी टेस्ट केली जाते आणि इथे एक्झिट कंट्रोल म्हणजे काय, लूप मधनं बाहेर पडताना इथे टेस्ट चेक केली जाते. So that's why it is called as the exit control. And now you note down the differences in third case for loop. The task is same. Just again, I want to print the value from 1 to 5, but you see the differences. In case of for all these three things, see here, initialization, test condition, and incrementation. All these three statements are combined on only one line. But if you see in the while, see here, this I equal to 1, separate line. This condition on separate line. This increment on separate line. Again, in case of do while, this initialization is on separate line. Then this increment is on separate line. Condition, this is also on a different line. Means the three lines are wasted here. And in case of the for loop, all these three lines are appear in a single statement, and due to that the code becomes the length of code becomes reduced, and only there is only one statement, printf statement, printf I. The value of I is 1, so that's why 1 will be printed. Then it just, due to this closing brace, the control goes back to the for. First of all, it increment the value 1 plus 1 2, then it tests the value 2 is less than or equal to 5, yes, condition becomes true, so it print the value of I as a 2, so 2 will be printed. Again it goes back, so the same task will be repeated again and again till the condition becomes true. Once the condition becomes false, means once the value of I becomes 6, the program control is out of the loop at the get ch, means the end of loop, and you will get the output as 1 2 3 4 5 on a separate line due to this backslash n. Any doubt? Clear? तिघ कन्सेप्ट क्लिअर झाले?
Yes, ma'am.
प्रोग्राम
Yeah,
वरून
ma'am.
लक्षात आले आता तिघ कन्सेप्ट.
हो.
आता स्वतः आज घरी तुम्ही प्रत्येकाने तिघ लूप वरती वेगवेगळे प्रोग्राम तयार करा. म्हणजे मी 1 to 5 घेतलंय तर तुम्ही 1 to 10 नंबर्स प्रिंट करा, किंवा अजून तुम्हाला काही ऍडिशन करायची असेल 1 to 5 नंबरची तर ती लूपच्या थ्रू करून बघा. काही अडचणी असल्या तर एक रिव्हिजन लेक्चर आपण घेऊ, त्यावेळेला तुम्ही विचारा मला. नाऊ the next statement is a nested loop concept. Nested means what? Nested means when one loop is used within the body of another loop. It is called as nested for loop. See here in the syntax, this one for loop is completely placed within the another outer for loop. See, this is the inner loop, this one is inner loop, and this one is the outer loop, and this concept is called as a nesting. Means one loop is completely placed or embedded within the another loop, and that is called as the nested loop. There are some rules of how to use the nested for loop, or how to the rules regarding the nested loops. The control variable of inner and outer must be different. म्हणजे इथे जो तुम्ही फॉर लूप मध्ये जो व्हेरिएबल यूज करणार आहे तो आणि बाहेरच्या फॉर लूपचा हे डिफरंट असायला पाहिजे. द बॉडी ऑफ इनर लूप मस्ट बी कम्प्लिटली लाय इनसाइड द आउटर लूप. म्हणजे हा जो इनर लूप आहे हा कम्प्लिटली ह्या बाहेरच्या लूप मध्येच प्लेस व्हायला पाहिजे. म्हणजे दोघं ब्रॅकेट हे बाहेरच्या लूप मध्ये जायला पाहिजे, याचं ओव्हरलॅपिंग व्हायला नको. म्हणजे हा जो मधल्याचा क्लोजिंग ब्रॅकेट आहे हा याच्या बाहेर यायला नको. This is the second rule. The program control cannot directly transfer into the body of inner loop. म्हणजे प्रोग्राम कंट्रोल हा डायरेक्ट इनर लूप मध्ये जायला नको, त्याला तिथे काहीतरी टेस्टिंग असायला पाहिजे आणि मग त्या टेस्टिंग प्रमाणे तो इनर लूपला जायला पाहिजे. सो सी, दिस इज द एक्झाम्पल ऑफ नेस्टेड फॉर लूप. I have taken here the two variables a and b of the type integer. The outer for loop I use the variable a equal to 1, a is less than or equal to 5, a plus plus. Okay. Now in the body of outer for loop, I use the inner for. And again here see the index variable is different. B equal to 1, B is less than or equal to 5, B plus plus. And just I print the value of B in the inner loop. In the outer loop, I have just print the blank lines, backslash n. And due to that, you will get the output as 1 2 3 4 5. Why you will get the output? Because I am not using here any backslash character, backslash t, backslash n. That's why the output is 1 2 3 4 5 without space. And what about this printf backslash n? Just it, sorry, the 5 blank spaces are there. Just 1 minute, just 1 minute, I take the arrow. See, 1 2, no. This, yes, mouse. See here. Okay, there is no cursor, but due to this printf backslash n, the 5 blank lines will be left here, and this is the output. See here, this for loop, inner for loop is completely placed within this outer for loop, and this is the concept of the nesting. So likewise, you can nesting the loops of while loops, do while loops, for loops, if statements. You can nested any concept, but be careful about nesting the concepts. Means with keeping these three rules, you can construct the nesting concept. Okay, now the lecture is over, and this fourth